Part 3 of The Clouds by Aristophanes, translated by William James Hickey. Unjust cause. And yet I was choking in my heart, and was longing to confound all these with contrary maxims. For I have been called among the deep thinkers the worst cause on this very account, that I first contrived how to speak against both law and justice. And this art is worth more than 10,000 staters, that one should choose the worst cause, and nevertheless be victorious. But mark how I will confute the system of education on which he relies, who says in the first place that he will not permit you to be washed with warm water. And yet, on what principle do you blame the warm baths? Just cause. Because it is most vile, and makes a man cowardly. Unjust cause. Stop, for immediately I seize and hold you by the waist without escape. Come, tell me, which of the sons of Jupiter do you deem to have been the bravest in soul, and to have undergone most labors? Just cause. I consider no man superior to Hercules. Unjust cause. Where, pray, did you ever see cold Herculean baths? And yet who was more valiant than he? Just cause. These are the very things which make the bath full of youths, always chattering all day long, but the palaestras empty. Unjust cause. You next find fault with their living in the marketplace, but I commend it. For if it had been bad, Homer would never have been for representing Nestor as an orator, nor all the other wise men. I will return then from thence to the tongue, which this fellow says our youths ought not to exercise, while I maintain they should. And again, he says they ought to be modest, two very great evils. For tell me, to whom you have ever seen any good accrue through modesty, and confute me by your words? Just cause. Too many. Peleus at any rate received his sword on account of it. Unjust cause. A sword? Marry, he got a pretty piece of luck, the poor wretch, while Hyperbolus, he of the lamps, got more than many talents by his villainy, but by Jupiter no sword. Just cause. And Peleus married Thetis too, through his modesty. Unjust cause. And then she went off and left him, for he was not lustful, nor an agreeable bedfellow to spend the night with. Now, a woman delights in being wantonly treated, but you are an old dotard. For, to Phidippides, consider, O youth, all that attaches to modesty, and of how many pleasures you are about to be deprived, of women, of games at Cotybus, of dainties, of drinking bouts, of giggling. And yet, what is life worth to you if you be deprived of these enjoyments? Well, I will pass from thence to the necessities of our nature. You have gone astray, you have fallen in love, you have been guilty of some adultery, and then have been caught. You are undone, for you are unable to speak. But if you associate with me, indulge your inclination, dance, laugh, and think nothing disgraceful. For if you should happen to be detected as an adulterer, you will make this reply to him, that you have done him no injury, and then refer him to Jupiter, how even he is overcome by love and women. And yet how could you, who are a mortal, have greater power than a god? Just cause. But what if he should suffer the radish through obeying you, and be depilated with hot ashes? What argument will he be able to state to prove that he is not a blackguard? Unjust cause. And if he be a blackguard, what harm will he suffer? Just cause. Nay, what could he ever suffer still greater than this? Unjust cause. What then will you say if you be conquered by me in this? Just cause. I will be silent. What else can I do? Unjust cause. Come now, tell me, from what class do the advocates come? Just cause. From the blackguards. Unjust cause. I believe you. What then? From what class do tragedians come? Just cause. From the blackguards. Unjust cause. You say well. But from what class do the public orators come? Just cause. From the blackguards. Unjust cause. Then have you perceived that you say nothing to the purpose? And look which class among the audience is the more numerous. Just cause. Well, now, I'm looking. Unjust cause. What then do you see? Just cause. By the gods, the blackguards to be far more numerous. This fellow at any rate I know, and him yonder, and this fellow with the long hair. Unjust cause. What then will you say? Just cause. We are conquered. Ye blackguards, by the gods, receive my cloak, for I desert to you. Exeunt the two causes, and re-enter Socrates and Strepsiades. Socrates. What then? Whether do you wish to take and lead away this your son, or shall I teach him to speak? Strepsiades, teach him and chastise him, and remember that you train him properly. On the one side able for petty suits, but train his other jaw able for the more important causes. Socrates, make yourself easy. You shall receive him back a clever sophist. Strepsiades, nay, rather, pale and wretched. Exeunt Socrates, Strepsiades, and Pheidippides. Chorus, go ye then, but I think that you will repent of these proceedings. We wish to speak about the judges, what they will gain, if at all they justly assist this chorus. For in the first place, if you wish to plow up your fields in spring, we will rain for you first, but for the others afterward. And then we will protect the fruits and the vines, so that neither drought afflict them, nor excessive wet weather. But if any mortal dishonor us who are goddesses, let him consider what evils he will suffer at our hands, obtaining neither wine nor anything else from his farm. For when his olives and vines sprout, they shall be cut down. With such slings will we smite them. And if we see him making brick, we will rain, and we will smash the tiles of his roof with round hailstones. And if he himself or any one of his kindred or friends at any time marry, we will rain the whole night. So he will probably wish rather to have been even in Egypt than to have judged badly. Enter Strepsiades with a meal sack on his shoulder. Strepsiades, the fifth, the fourth, the third, after this the second, and then of all the days I most fear and dread and abominate, immediately after this there is the old and new. For everyone to whom I happen to be indebted swears and says he will ruin and destroy me, having made his deposits against me. Though I only ask what is moderate and just. My good sir, one part don't take just now, the other part put off, I pray, and the other part remit. They say that thus they will never get back their money, but abuse me as I am unjust, and say they will go to law with me. Now therefore let them go to law, for it little concerns me, if Pheidippides has learned to speak well. I shall soon know by knocking at the thinking shop. Knocks at the door. Boy! I say, boy! Boy! Enter Socrates. Socrates, good morning, Strepsiades. Strepsiades, the same to you. But first accept this present, for one ought to compliment the teacher with a fee. And tell me about my son, if he has learned that cause which you have just now brought forward. Socrates, he has learned it. Strepsiades, well done, O fraud, all-powerful queen. Socrates, so that you can get clear off from whatever suit you please. Strepsiades, even if witnesses were present when I borrowed the money? Socrates, yea, much more, even if 1,000 be present. Strepsiades, then I will shout with a very loud shout, Ho! Weep, you petty usurers, both you and your principals and your compound interests, for you can no longer do me any harm, because such a son is being reared for me in this house, shining with a double-edged tongue, for my guardian, the preserver of my house, a mischief to my enemies, ending the sadness of the great woes of his father. Him do thou run and summon from within to me. Socrates goes into the house. O child, O son, come forth from the house. Hear your father. Re-enter Socrates, leading in Pheidippides. Socrates, lo, here is the man. Strepsiades, oh, my dear, my dear. Socrates, take your son and depart. Exit Socrates. Strepsiades, oh, my child. Huzzah, huzzah. How I am delighted at the first sight of your complexion. Now, indeed, you are in the first place negative and disputatious to look at, and this fashion native to the place plainly appears, the what do you say? And the seeming to be injured when I well know you are injuring and inflicting a wrong, and in your countenance there is the Attic look. Now therefore see that you save me, since you have also ruined me. Pheidippides, what pray do you fear? Strepsiades, the old and new. Pheidippides, why, is any day old and new? Strepsiades, yes, on which they say that they will make their deposits against me. Pheidippides, then those that have made them will lose them, for it is not possible that 2 days can be 1 day. Strepsiades, cannot it? Pheidippides, certainly not, unless the same woman can be both old and young at the same time. Strepsiades, and yet it is the law. Pheidippides, for they do not, I think, rightly understand what the law means. Strepsiades. And what does it mean? Pheidippides. The ancient Solon was by nature the common's friend. Strepsiades. This surely is nothing whatever to the old and new. Pheidippides. He therefore made the summons for 2 days, for the old and new, that the deposits might be made on the first of the month. Strepsiades. Why, pray, did he add the old day? Pheidippides. In order, my good sir, that the defendants, being present a day before, might compromise the matter of their own accord, but if not, that they might be worried on the morning of the new moon. Strepsiades. Why then do the magistrates not receive the deposits on the new moon, but on the old and new? Pheidippides. They seem to me to do what the forestallers do. In order that they may appreciate the deposits as soon as possible, on this account they have the first pick by 1 day. Strepsiades, turning to the audience. Bravo! Ye wretches, why do you sit senseless, the gain of us wise men, being blocks, ciphers, mere sheep, jars heaped together? Wherefore I must sing an encomium upon myself and this my son, on account of our good fortune. O happy Strepsiades, how wise you are yourself, and how excellent is the son whom you are rearing. My friends and fellow tribesmen will say of me, envying me, when you prove victorious in arguing causes. But first I wish to lead you in and entertain you. Exeunt Strepsiades and Pheidippides. Pausias, entering with his summons witness. Then ought a man to throw away any part of his own property? Never! But it were better then at once to put away blushes, rather than now to have trouble, since I am now dragging you to be a witness for the sake of my own money. And further, in addition to this, I shall become an enemy to my fellow tribesmen. But never while I live will I disgrace my country, but will summon Strepsiades. Strepsiades from within. Who's there? Pausias. For the old and new. Strepsiades. I call you to witness that he has named it for 2 days. For what matter do you summon me? Pausias. For the 12 minae which you received when you were buying the dapple-gray horse. Strepsiades. A horse? Do you not hear? I, whom you all know to hate horsemanship. Pausias. And by Jupiter, you swore by the gods too that you would repay it. Strepsiades. Aye, by Jove. For then my Pheidippides did not yet know the irrefragable argument. Pausias. And do you now intend on this account to deny the debt? Strepsiades. Why, what good should I get else from his instruction? Pausias. And will you be willing to deny these upon oath of the gods? Strepsiades. What gods? Pausias. Jupiter, Mercury, and Neptune. Strepsiades. Yes, by Jupiter, and would pay down too a 3-obol piece besides to swear. Pausias. Then may you perish some day for your impudence. Strepsiades. This man would be the better for it if he were cleansed by rubbing with salt. Pausias. Ah, me, how you deride me. Strepsiades. He will contain 6 koi. Pausias. By great Jupiter and the gods, you certainly shall not do this to me with impunity. Strepsiades. I like your gods amazingly, and Jupiter sworn by is ridiculous to the knowing ones. Pausias. You will assuredly suffer punishment sometime or other for this, but answer and dismiss me whether you are going to repay me my money or not. Strepsiades. Keep quiet now, for I will presently answer you distinctly. Runs into the house. Pausias to his summons witness. What do you think he will do? Witness. I think he will pay you. Re-enter Strepsiades with a kneading trough. Strepsiades. Where is this man who asked me for his money? Tell me, what is this? Pausias. What is this? A cardopos. Strepsiades. And do you then ask me for your money, being such an ignorant person? I would not pay not even an obulus to anyone who called the cardope a cardopos. Pausias. Then won't you pay me? Strepsiades. Not as far as I know. Will you not then pack off as fast as possible from my door? Pausias. I will depart, and be assured of this, that I will make deposit against you, or may I live no longer. Strepsiades. Then you will lose it besides, in addition to your 12 minae, and yet I do not wish you to suffer this because you named the cardopos foolishly. Exeunt Pausias and witness, and enter Amenias. Amenias. Ah me, ah me. Strepsiades. Ha! Whoever is this? Who is lamenting? Surely it was not one of Carcinus' deities that spoke. Aminias, but why do you wish to know this, who I am, a miserable man? Strepsiades, then follow your own path. Aminias, O harsh fortune, O fates breaking the wheels of my horses, O Pallas, how you have destroyed me. Strepsiades, what evil, pray, has Tlepolemus ever done you? Aminias, do not jeer me, my friend, but order your son to pay me the money which he received, especially as I have been unfortunate. Strepsiades, what money is this? Aminias, that which he borrowed. Strepsiades, then you were really unlucky, as I think. Aminias, by the gods, I fell while driving my horses. Strepsiades, why, pray, do you talk nonsense, as if you had fallen from an ass? Aminias, do I talk nonsense if I wish to recover my money? Strepsiades, you can't be in your senses yourself. Aminias, why, pray? Strepsiades, you appear to me to have had your brains shaken, as it were. Aminias, then you appear to me, by Hermes, to be going to be summoned if you will not pay me the money. Strepsiades, tell me now, whether you think that Jupiter always rains fresh rain on each occasion, or that the sun draws from below the same water back again. Aminias, I know not which, nor do I care. Strepsiades, how then is it just that you should recover your money if you know nothing of meteorological matters? Aminias, well, if you are in want, pay me the interest of my money. Strepsiades, what sort of animal is this interest? Aminias, most assuredly the money is always becoming more and more every month and every day as the time slips away. Strepsiades, you say well. What then? Is it possible that you consider the sea to be greater now than formerly? Aminias, no, by Jupiter, but equal, for it is not fitting that it should be greater. Strepsiades, and how then, you wretch, does this become no way greater, though the rivers flow into it while you seek to increase your money? Will you not take yourself off from my house? Bring me the goad. Enter servant with a goad. Aminias, I call you to witness these things. Strepsiades, beating him, go! Why do you delay? Won't you march, Mr. Bloodhorse? Aminias, is not this an insult, pray? Strepsiades, will you move quickly? Pricks him behind with the goad. I'll lay on you, goading you behind, you outrigger. Do you fly? Aminias runs off. I thought I should stir you, together with your wheels and your two-horse chariots. Exit Strepsiades. Chorus. What a thing it is to love evil courses, for this old man, having loved them, wishes to withhold the money that he borrowed. And he will certainly meet with something today, which will perhaps cause this sophist to suddenly receive some misfortune in return for the knaveries he has begun. For I think that he will presently find what has been long boiling up, that his son is skillful to speak opinions opposed to justice, so as to overcome all with whomsoever he holds converse, even if he advance most villainous doctrines. And perhaps his father will wish that he were even speechless. Strepsiades running out of the house pursued by his son. Hello, hello! Oh, neighbors and kinsfolk and fellow tribesmen, defend me by all means, who am being beaten. Ah, me, unhappy man, for my head and jaw. Wretch, do you beat your father? Pheidippides, yes, father. Strepsiades, you see him owning that he beats me. Pheidippides, certainly. Strepsiades, oh, wretch and parricide and housebreaker. Pheidippides, say the same things of me again and more. Do you know that I take pleasure in being much abused? Strepsiades, you blackguard. Pheidippides, sprinkle me with roses in abundance. Strepsiades, do you beat your father? Pheidippides, and will prove too by Jupiter that I beat you with justice. Strepsiades, oh, thou most rascally! Why, how can it be just to beat a father? Pheidippides, I will demonstrate it, and will overcome you in argument. Strepsiades, will you overcome me in this? Pheidippides, yea, by much and easily, but choose which of the two causes you wish to speak. Strepsiades, of what two causes? Pheidippides, the better or the worse? Strepsiades, marry, I did get you taught to speak against justice. By Jupiter, my friend, if you are going to persuade me of this, that it is just and honorable for a father to be beaten by his sons. Pheidippides, I think I shall certainly persuade you, so that when you have heard, not even you yourself will say anything against it. Strepsiades. Well now, I am willing to hear what you have to say. Chorus. It is your business, old man, to consider in what way you shall conquer the man. For if he were not relying upon something, he would not be so licentious. But he is emboldened by something. The boldness of the man is evident. Now you ought to tell to the chorus from what the contention first arose, and this you must do by all means. Strepsiades. Well now, I will tell you from what we first began to rail at one another. After we had feasted, as you know, I first bade him take a lyre and sing a song of Simonides, the shearing of the ram. But he immediately said it was old-fashioned to play on the lyre and sing while drinking, like a woman grinding parched barley. Pheidippides. For oughtn't you not then immediately to be beaten and trampled on, bidding me sing, just as if you were entertaining cicadae? Strepsiades. He expressed, however, such opinions then too within as he does now, and he asserted that Simonides was a bad poet. I bore it at first, with difficulty indeed, yet nevertheless I bore it. And then I bade him at least take a myrtle wreath and recite to me some portion of Aeschylus, and then he immediately said, Shall I consider Aeschylus the first among the poets, full of empty sound, unpolished, bombastic, using rugged words? And hereupon, you can't think how my heart panted. But nevertheless I restrained my passion and said, At least recite some passage of the more modern poets, of whatever kind these clever things be. And he immediately sang a passage of Euripides, how a brother, averter of ill, debauched his uterine sister, and I bore it no longer, but immediately assailed him with many abusive reproaches. And then, after that, as was natural, we hurled word upon word. Then he springs upon me, and then he was wounding me and beating me and throttling me. Pheidippides. Were you not therefore justly beaten, who do not praise Euripides, the wisest of poets? Strepsiades. He, the wisest? Oh, what shall I call you? But I shall be beaten again. Pheidippides. Yes, by Jupiter, with justice. Strepsiades. Why, how with justice? Who, O shameless fellow, reared you, understanding all your wishes when you lisped what you meant? If you said Bryn, I, understanding it, used to give you to drink. And when you asked for a mammon, I used to come to you with bread. And you used no longer to say kakan, then I used to take and carry you out of doors and hold you before me. But you now, throttling me, who was bawling and crying out, because I wanted to ease myself, had not the heart to carry me forth out of doors, you wretch, but I did it there while I was being throttled. Chorus. I fancy the hearts of the youths are panting to hear what he will say. For if after having done such things he shall persuade him by speaking, I would not take the hide of the old folks even at the price of a chickpea. It is thy business, thou author and upheaver of new words, to seek some means of persuasion, so that you shall seem to speak justly. Pheidippides. How pleasant it is to be acquainted with new and clever things, and to be able to despise the established laws. For I, when I applied my mind to horsemanship alone, used not to be able to utter 3 words before I made a mistake. But now, since he himself has made me cease from these pursuits, and I am acquainted with subtle thoughts and arguments and speculations, I think I shall demonstrate that it is just to chastise one's father. Strepsiades. Ride then, by Jupiter, since it is better for me to keep a team of 4 horses than to be killed with a beating. Pheidippides. I will pass over to that part of my discourse where you interrupted me, and first I will ask you this. Did you beat me when I was a boy? Strepsiades. I did, through goodwill and concern for you. Pheidippides. Pray tell me, is it not just that I also should be well inclined toward you in the same way, and beat you, since this is to be well inclined to give a beating? For why ought your body to be exempt from blows and mine not? And yet I too was born free. The boys weep, and do you not think it is right that a father should weep? You will say that it is ordained by law that this should be the lot of boys. But I would reply that old men are boys twice over, and that it is the more reasonable that the old should weep than the young, inasmuch as it is less just that they should err. Strepsiades. It is nowhere ordained by law that a father should suffer this. Pheidippides. Was it not then a man like you and me who first proposed this law, and by speaking persuaded the ancients? Why then is it less lawful for me also in turn to propose henceforth a new law for the sons, that they should beat their fathers in turn? But as many blows as we received before the law was made, we remit, and we concede to them our having been thrashed without return. Observe the cocks and these other animals, how they punish their fathers. And yet in what do they differ from us, except that they do not write decrees? Strepsiades. Why then, since you imitate the cocks in all things, do you not both eat dung and sleep on a perch? Pheidippides. It is not the same thing, my friend, nor would it appear so to Socrates. Strepsiades. Therefore do not beat me, otherwise you will one day blame yourself. Pheidippides. Why? How? Strepsiades. Since I am justly entitled to chastise you, and you to chastise your son if you should have one. Pheidippides. But if I should not have one, I shall have wept for nothing, and you will die laughing at me. Strepsiades. To me, indeed, O comrades, he seems to speak justly, and I think we ought to concede to them what is fitting, for it is proper that we should weep if we do not act justly. Pheidippides. Consider still another maxim. Strepsiades. No, for I shall perish if I do. Pheidippides. And yet perhaps you will not be vexed at suffering what you now suffer. Strepsiades. How, pray? For inform me what good you will do me by this. Pheidippides. I will beat my mother just as I have you. Strepsiades. What do you say? What do you say? This other again is a greater wickedness. Pheidippides. But what if, having the worst cause, I shall conquer you in arguing, proving that it is right to beat one's mother? Strepsiades. Most assuredly, if you do this, nothing will hinder you from casting yourself and your worst cause into the pit along with Socrates. These evils have I suffered through you, O clouds, having entrusted all my affairs to you. Chorus. Nay, rather, you are yourself the cause of these things, having turned yourself to wicked courses. Strepsiades. Why, pray, did you not tell me this then, but excited with hopes a rustic and aged man? Chorus. We always do this to him whom we perceive to be a lover of wicked courses, until we precipitate him into misfortune, so that he may learn to fear the gods. Strepsiades. Ah, me! It is severe, O clouds, but it is just, for I ought not to have withheld the money which I borrowed. Now therefore come with me, my dearest son, that you may destroy the blackguard Chaerephon and Socrates, who deceived you and me. Pheidippides. I will not injure my teachers. Strepsiades. Yes, yes, reverence paternal Jove. Pheidippides. Paternal Jove, quoth he? How antiquated you are. Why, is there any Jove? Strepsiades. There is. Pheidippides. There is not, no, for vortex reigns, having expelled Jupiter. Strepsiades. He has not expelled him, but I fancied this on account of this vortex here. Ah, me, unhappy man, when I even took you who are of earthenware for a god. Pheidippides. Here rave and babble to yourself. Exit Pheidippides. Strepsiades. Ah, me, what madness! How mad then I was when I ejected the gods on account of Socrates. But oh dear Hermes, by no means be wroth with me nor destroy me, but pardon me, since I have gone crazy through prating, and become my adviser, whether I shall bring an action and prosecute them, or whatever you think. You advise me rightly, not permitting me to get up a lawsuit, but as soon as possible to set fire to the house of the prating fellows. Come hither, Xanthias. Come forth with a ladder and with a mattock, and then mount upon the thinking shop and dig down the roof, if you love your master, until you tumble the house upon them. Xanthias mounts upon the roof. But let someone bring me a lighted torch, and I'll make some of them this day suffer punishment, even if they be ever so much impostors. First disciple from within. Hello, hello! Strepsiades. It is your business, O torch, to send forth abundant flame. Mounts upon the roof. First disciple. What are you doing, fellow? Strepsiades. What am I doing? Why, what else than chopping logic with the beams of your house? Sets the house on fire. Second disciple from within. You will destroy us, you will destroy us. Strepsiades. For I also wish this very thing, unless my mattock deceive my hopes, or I should somehow fall first and break my neck. Socrates from within. Hello, you! What are you doing, pray, you fellow on the roof? Strepsiades. I am walking on air and speculating about the sun. Socrates. Ah, me, unhappy! I shall be suffocated, wretched man. Chaerephon. And I, miserable man, shall be burnt to death. Strepsiades. For what has come into your heads that you acted insolently toward the gods, and pried into the seat of the moon? Chase, pelt, smite them for many reasons, but especially because you know that they offended against the gods. The thinking shop is burned down. Chorus, lead the way out, for we have sufficiently acted as chorus for today. End of part 3.